Welcome. You might wonder, what is this? Well, I thought it would be a fun thing to do, a random weapon challenge, where I ask some people for a random weapon and a trait for that weapon, randomize it to get a weird combination, and then try to model it, just to see what would the output be. I also had this fun idea to make a voiceover of this, because this proved to be quite the challenge for me. Because when I first got this combination of explosive Warhorn, I thought it was like, this is far beyond my experience level, so to speak. Pretty soon come to the conclusion I can't back out now, and you don't learn if you don't push yourself. It just doesn't work like that. And I started with a lower yaw, and it was pretty fast. I couldn't just extract it out like I did with the handle. Instead I started from a block with a lot of lines on it and then just sized those lines to follow the drawing my friend made for me. A big shout out to him for making that picture so I could have some kind of reference to follow. I used the same method for the upper yaw. Starting with a block, lay out the basic shape of it and then start to put a lot of lines and just scaling it up and down. Make it follow the lines. After I got the basic shape of both the upper part of the skull and the yaw of the skull, I started to do the horns. I tried to just extrude the horns all the way like I do with the handle, but I soon noticed that I also have to rotate it, otherwise it would just wouldn't work. Then I started to use the proportional editing tool. You can grab a vertices and then make everybody who's connected to it follow it. With this I could rotate the horn into the skull and just put the edge downwards instead of pointing upwards. This worked pretty fine, and I didn't want the horn to be perfectly straight, so it made a little bumpy along the road. After I was done with that, I started to model the skull's shape on the other axis, made it more round. Of course I started with a basic shape, had a lot of sizes for the nose, but I figured out that it would be pretty wide was the best fit for this. I had to remake this a lot of times because I was still unsure how would I do this in box editing. I figured out I would just put a line in the middle to start with, put more lines to shape it round, both upwards and downwards. After that I did just like on the first axis, just started going point by point, vertices by vertices, and just getting that round shape out. To give the nose part a nice merge with the rest of the skull was proved to be quite challenging. Took a few tries, but it worked. Later on I went back to the back of the skull, fixed that so it looks a little better, and then I started to work a bit on the last axis to get the last round shape. Also I put in the hole for the eye and the nose. When I made a cavity where the yaw would connect to the skull, I used a setting that's called individual point origins for all the vertices. Meaning they don't follow the object's origin point but their own origin point. Selected the vertices in that cavity, put the position on one axis to 0, which would make it flat in that direction. Then I started work on the yaw. This proved to be quite a lot more challenging because I wanted to have 3 different areas with different rounding on it. Front part would have 2 different, one rounding outwards and another one going inwards. Of course I didn't get the connection that good when all the 3 different roundings meet. It's good enough. I already put like 10 hours at this point into this. They just didn't want to put that many more. After I was done with the scaling, I started to make a simple model that I would carve out the lower yaw with. I restarted this a lot of times, one because the electricity went out and the other one because I failed horrible with it. Still, this was I figured out later when I started with the upper yaw, or the upper skull, that this was definitely not the way to go. Upper skull I instead just marked the vertices that I want to carve out and just extrude it inwards. Then went along and put a little shape inside of it, and it worked a lot better and saved a lot more vertices. Then I go back to the both nostril and the eye, made it more round and put the inwards so it seems like it would be like hollow inwards. After all this I started to work on teeth. I didn't want it to be like perfect set of teeth and all that, so what I did is I made several different ones. I even made a broken one, put that one in place and just looked at it a bit, saw that some of these tooths should not be here, so I put a carve on those. It left the hole and just removed the teeth. After the tooths were done, I started to work on the rope that would be around the entire skull. With this I used just a cylinder with an array modifier on it and a curve follow. So I started making a curve with the cylinder array to follow the curve and then just put it around the skull. Then went back, put so it wouldn't just fixed up so it wouldn't clip into each other. And lastly I started to do the knot part. This proved to be quite difficult because if you rotate or move one point on the curve, pretty much everything else also moves. So I spent a lot of time trying to get that knot to be somewhat authentic. After I was done with the rope, I only had the handle wrapping left to work with. So I tried to play around with the proportional adding and stuff to get it look nice. It helped quite a lot, but I figured out that I put one segment, put an array on that, and then we'll get a lot nicer finish. It's not a proper wrapping, but it's a sheeting way of doing a wrapping. And then as finishing touch on Blender, I put those last 2 hanging wrap parts that's not wrapped around. After that, I threw it into Unity, threw some color on it, some particle effect, and made a little script which rotate the camera around. And this is the final product. I say there's a lot of things that could be a lot better, but I'm pretty happy with it, because this was a monster of a build. Yeah, thanks for watching everybody. Hope you enjoyed, and see ya.